Welcome back to Neurodiverse Voices. I'm Cara, a teacher, business owner, and just like many of you, someone trying to navigate this wild journey of being neurodivergent in a world that doesn't always get it. Welcome back. It's Cara here, and today's episode, like every episode, is going to be a little different. I finished a session today all about product market fit, and my brain has been buzzing ever since. Now, if you're thinking, well, what even is product market fit? Well, you're not alone. Before this course, I thought it was a fancy business phrase that lived up on startup whiteboards. But as it turns out, it's really something I care deeply about and providing that connection. So, product market fit is that moment when what you create truly meets the needs of the people it's meant for. So, when your idea stops feeling like you're pushing it uphill and it starts to roll on its own, it's because it resonates, it matters, and it fits, both with yourself and your values, but also what you want to bring to customers, clients, and people you work with. Today, I want to take you through what I've learned, how it's made me think and challenge myself, and how I'm rethinking how I position Kindling Minds through this lens of empathy, purpose, and the people I work with, the children and families. So, understanding product market. We started right at the start of the day with basics. And honestly, it's deceptively simple. Product market fit is about making something people actually need, not just something you really want them to like or you want them to need. It's about listening to the community before you build a community. I realised that for years, my instinct was to create resources and programs that I knew would help neurodivergent learners like myself. But sometimes I hadn't really fully stopped and reflected to ask myself, how do they want to be helped? What is it that they want, not what I think they want? And that question really flipped everything, because true product market fit means you don't divine value in isolation, in your beliefs alone. It's your community that does. It's not about selling an idea, it's about solving a problem in the right way for the people living it, needing it. The course facilitator called it meaningful product, using organic, consistent growth. And those words really hit, because meaningful growth in my world, it isn't about numbers or metrics. It's not quantifiable. It's when a learner lights up or a parent finally exhales, when someone feels seen for the first time. That's the kind of growth I measure. So how do I go about providing that? So we explored lots of different ideas and lots of different industries. There was 5 or 6 of us from vastly different industries, and yet we all had common themes that we'll go into. So one line stuck with me. Don't fall in love with your product or your service. Fall in love with your customer's problem. And I just sat with it, because that is what I do. My passion is to help my customers' problems. And it made me think about all the times I've spent polishing resources, trying to perfect a visual, or I've completely overhauled a system or a resource, instead of spending that same energy understanding what my learners need from me. I can think I know because I have that lived experience, but every individual child, parent, and family are completely different. So thinking about that, how that fits together, is about lining what you offer and what your audience actually experiences. Not hypothetically, but through actual conversations and reflected feedback and ultimately trial and error. And this part made me smile because it reminded me that at Kindling Minds, everything started with a question, not a business plan. I wanted to know, what would support have looked like if someone had built it around me? And that's product market fit in its most human form. I want to support children, families. The connection and confidence building in finally seeing children thrive and have success in school. Something that might have caused so much upset, frustration, anger, worry, anxiety. I want to be there to hold their hand, not to tell them what to do, but to sit, listen, and find a path forwards. And I wanted that myself when I was growing up. So we then looked at ideal customer profiles, and it was about defining your ideal customer. Now, in theory, it's segmenting audiences, identifying all of the different pain points, mapping the desires and the outcomes. But I decided to think of it on a more emotional approach, because my ideal customer isn't a target market. It's real people. It's a child or children sitting at a desk, feeling different, feeling isolated, or a parent who wants to help but just doesn't know how to. Even down to a teacher who wants to do the right thing but feels totally overwhelmed because they've not just got one learner sitting in front of them. They've got up to 30. And when I thought about it that way, I realised that product fit, it's not a spreadsheet problem. It's an empathy practice. To create something that truly fits, I have to enter their world, learn their language, and feel their friction. And that's where accessibility and well-being intersect with entrepreneurship. When we talk about accessibility, we're not talking about ramps or fonts, although I do sometimes. But in this space, we're talking about energy, emotional safety, support, and giving my clients that feeling of belonging, that feeling of success when they are supported. With everything, we also looked at common pitfalls. We looked at what usually goes wrong when people chase a market. So, some of the biggest pitfalls: building what you want instead of what your customers need. Spending time talking more than actively listening. And measuring success by perfection and not connection. Now, I've fallen into all three because my passion for supporting children the way that I didn't receive growing up isn't what the child in front of me needs. It's similar, yeah, but it's not the same. And sometimes trying to over-explain something when really I just needed to stop, listen and reflect. Now, I am a reflective person. I take every session and reflect on that and change the way I go forward. But sometimes what's right for my client, what's right for the child and family sitting in front of me, isn't me talking and supporting. It's me listening, making the family feel heard, feel confident in advocating for themselves. And I think many people strive for perfection. And at the end of the day, it's just not achievable nor attainable. And that's where Kindling Minds' values of connection, confidence and kindness really shine, because it's not about being perfect. It's about building that network of positive affirmations and resilience every day. When I actually asked for feedback, targeted feedback, I realised some of my clients didn't have time or the capacity to engage with what I've created. My brilliant solution had accidentally become another source of overwhelm. And that's the danger of designing for people rather than with them. But guess what? We all make mistakes. Mistakes are proof that we are trying. My favourite quote. Because we do. We try and we fail, we reflect, and then we pivot. It's about inviting that space to co-create, treating every client, learner, and collaborator as a partner building something better. And if something doesn't work, at least you've tried. We move on. We change our actions. And then we come back and reevaluate. Has it been improved? Do we need to pivot 180? So one of the big questions was, how do you know if you're getting close to your perfect product market fit? And 3 indicators that I reflected on and identified was people are starting to come back. They start referring other people, or you get feedback and comments that say, this is exactly what I needed. And I thought, yeah, that's when you stop over explaining. It's the work that you're doing explains you. At Kindling Minds, I've started to feel some glimpses of that. Families reach out because they've heard about a positive experience from someone. I've had people get my free guides on the website, and it's a taster of what I can offer. Learners asking to continue even after they've met their goal. It's that gentle pull of resonance with what I provide and what they need. Like the work is humming in tune with the world. That's when you know something fits. You've got your client, your customer, and you're providing real value. So by the end of the session, I had 3 pages of notes and many, many post-it notes. And I got thinking, it's not about validation. It's not about that quantifiable data. It's all about human alignment. It's about designing a way that feels sustainable for both sides. Because if what I build burns me out, it doesn't fit either. I'm learning to see that fit is not just between a product or service and the market, but between purpose and energy, between my values and my practices, and between what I can offer, but also what I can sustain. So as I close out this episode, here's what I'm sitting with. Product market fit isn't a finish line. It's an ever-changing landscape, a living conversation between my values and what my audience needs. It makes me reflect and change what I do consistently and constantly. It makes me ask, who am I serving and what do they truly need? How can I meet that need in a way that's kind, accessible and real? And I can't do that without my customers, without my audience, that feedback, that open communication. Because one person's need is completely different to the next. So for me, it's reimagining success, not as scale, not in numbers, but in impact and depth. Not all growth is quantifiable. It's growth that feels good. So if you're an entrepreneur, an educator, or creator listening right now, maybe the question to ask isn't how do I sell more, but it should be how do I serve my community better? That's the kind of fit that I think's worth building. Thanks for spending this podcast episode with me today. And if today's reflection resonated with you, share it with someone else who's trying to find their fit in business, in life, or in purpose. Because when what we build fits who we are, that's when our real growth begins. See you next time.